Hello and welcome to Being Extra. This week we have two movie reviews. One for The King of Staten Island and the other one for The Five Bloods. But before we get into those reviews, let's talk some movie news. First of all, Bill and Ted Face the Music trailer dropped. It looked great, pure nostalgia. Of course, time travel involved. They see their future selves. That's not a spoiler. We see that in the trailer. And something tells me they're going to see their old selves again to help them out with the music. We'll see what happens. I can't wait to see other trailers drop or just to see what's going to happen with this. So, let's see what happens. Next on news, Tenet only moved 2 weeks. So it's still going to have a July release date, which is great because all AMC movie theaters said they were going to open in July, and they're still not backing down. They're still going to release it in the movie theaters. They are not going to streaming. I know Warner Brothers wants to keep Christopher Nolan happy, so I understand they don't want to move it too far, which it could play out either way. Either not enough people feel safe enough to go back into a movie theater, or everybody they can't wait to be back in the movie theater, watch a movie in the big screen, surround sound, RPX, IMAX, all that, which I'm excited about. I'm going to go watch it. I'm going to take all the precautionary measures. I'm going to take all the PPE, hand sanitizer if it's, necessary. I'm going to try not to eat any popcorn, anything that's made over there. I'm just going to try to go, enjoy, and watch the movie. Which brings me to my next topic, movie theaters. They are planning to reopening, especially AMC. They said they're going to reopen in July, all their movie theaters, which it makes me think, what is their plan? Are they going to have a seat in between? I've talked about this before. A movie theater is a big room that gets crowded, full of people. Every seat gets taken when it's a big movie release. So date night might never be the same if there's a seat in between. Or sharing the popcorn might not be fun. Reaching all the way across the seat to share your popcorn. And I don't think people want to share popcorn anymore nowadays. That might be in the past. Everybody gets their own personal popcorn. I'm excited that movie theaters are not completely dead. They took a big hit, that's for sure. A couple months, 2 to 3 months of being closed. That's a big deal, guys. Movie theaters that are used to seeing people come every day, even if it's 2 or 3 people, for a smaller movie or bigger movies, they're used to seeing people come in every day to see movies. To have 2 or 3 months closed, that's a long time. So yes, they are going to reopen with safety measures. I'm still waiting to see what those are going to be. As soon as I have them, I'll post them up. So I'm excited because it seems like Tenet might reopen the whole movie theater business. It's going to open with Tenet. Yeah, they're going to put in some other movies, but we'll see what happens. Speaking of movie theaters and streaming, James Gunn said he will be open to having The Suicide Squad on streaming if it's necessary. So yes, he liked doing the project. He worked on it very hard, of course. He wrote the script. But he knows the risk that could happen of having to go into movie theaters. Trolls War 2 made a lot of movie on streaming. Yeah, that is when quarantine started, I know. But Tenet is going to be a test dummy just to test out the waters, to see how going back into movie theaters is going to feel like. Because, big events like that, Marvel movies, DC movies, things like that, Christopher Nolan films, they are meant to be watched, at least for the first time, in movie theaters, let's be honest. And then after we'll watch them and rewatch them on our phones, on tablets, on our TVs. But the first time, there's nothing like that first time experience of seeing a big movie like that. There are approximately 5,400 theaters in the US. So we don't know how many of those 5,400 theaters are going to open, but we'll stay tuned and we'll keep bringing out the news as they come to us. Next in news, Jurassic World 3 is going to resume filming in July, which in my industry and the jobs that I do, that's good. That's good for the crew that's going to get to keep filming, that's going to come back. Extras, there might not be as many extras, but I'm happy people are getting their jobs back and the movies are back up. Whether it's for streaming, movie theaters, and at least jobs came back. I'm happy about that. So I hope more movies open up as time comes and things start to slowly reopen. Because let me tell you guys, working on a movie, it's a lot of people involved. I've mentioned that before. A lot of crew. Besides the crew, you have a lot of extras if it's a big scene. Then you got the cast. Then you got, you have all these people that are working around one film. Behind 2 or 3 cameras are so many people. and I understand the precautions that they do have to take. So they might cut down on crew, they might cut down on extras. They know what they're doing. They're gonna have medics on set as always. So hopefully this will start a wave of movies coming back to film again, especially where I live in Georgia, in Atlanta. So guys, Justice League. I've talked about it before. Zack Snyder, he is going to go to a Justice League fan event in July. He's actually going to attend. This is great. This is just giving the movie more hype. It really makes me want it to do great, you know. I really hope that Zack Snyder gets his vision out there the way he intended it. That's why it cost $30 million to finish it, because, you know, all the unfinished scenes, maybe they're going to shoot an extra scene or not, we don't know. That's, you know, very hush-hush secret. But I'm happy. I'm happy for Zack Snyder, because getting like a do-over for a director on something that came out years ago, that doesn't always happen, guys. Maybe there are reboots, yes, but this is his original vision with the original actor, so that is very rare. So next in news, the biggest movie award of them all, well, at least for bigger films, is the Oscars. They seem to be pushed back to April. That's not definitive, but we're going to see if it stays in April or if it's going to push forward. There have been many new rules added this year, such as streaming movies can be nominated, which, you know, I nominate The Five Bloods. Like, if I could vote, The Five Bloods would be my vote for sure for what I've seen this year. If they don't do it next year, 2021, that means the movies that came out this year will not be eligible for the next Oscars, which, you know, some good movies have come out this year, which King of Staten Island, Five Bloods, hopefully Tenet, and we'll see what happens with the Oscars. But in the meantime, guys, there is a lot of local film festivals. Everywhere I go, cities I see, they have their own local film festivals. Please support them, guys. You know, these filmmakers, you know, some spend their life savings, some try really hard to get money for their movies. And some movies, you know, they get pushed out and they get made into, and they get released in bigger movie theaters, which is great, but that doesn't always happen. Some end up, you know, on DVD, YouTube, or only film festivals, which they're fun to go to. I understand with the whole COVID-19 thing, but once we start slowly getting out of it, hopefully, then guys, support local film festivals, support local films, indie filmmakers. You know, they are the future of filmmaking. They start as indie filmmakers, but they gradually start getting better and better, and eventually even make the blockbusters that you see today. So support them. So now for MCU theories. There is millions of them, so I'm not even gonna get into that. There is a million channels with a million podcasts about MCU theories. I'm just not gonna get into it. I did post one. I posted one about how there might have been a Namor Easter egg in Black Panther, not in Avengers Endgame, but in Black Panther. It's a video. I'm gonna put the link down there. Guys, look at it. It's only 2 to 3 minutes. Really, really cool video about a friend who worked on Black Panther deleted scene that was never seen, talked about. No one has seen this movie, about how some Central American people were in a disaster and Black Panther supposedly comes to aid them or help them. So we're gonna see what happens with that. Hopefully we do get to see that deleted scene. I've looked for it everywhere. I can't find anything about it. Only my friend who worked on it, that's all he can say. So hopefully we get to see it. You got a role in Black Panther? A small role, extra role?
Yeah, extra, but the scene got completely cut. But we did get I got to see the director. I didn't get to see Black Panther, but I got to see the director, and yeah, our scene was completely cut, so I didn't get to see it at all.
Where was the scene?
We were Central American people who got hit by a disaster, and Black Panther was supposed to come like aid us. So I think it was supposed to be a scene towards the end of the movie. You know, when he says that they're gonna stop being like solitary and they're gonna start trying to help the world. I think that's when I was expecting our scene to pop up, but it didn't.
All right, guys. Godzilla versus Kong delayed until 2021. I mean, I get it, but still, I know it's a lot of CGI. It's heavy CGI. Guys, I worked on Godzilla King of the Monsters. We filmed it in 2017 here in Atlanta. It got released in 2019, so about 2 years to get all the CGI done, a couple of reshoots. I was one of the soldiers in the plane. I'll post a picture. But it just keeps getting delayed and delayed, and when you delay things too much, some people lose interest. Some people don't, so I've been waiting for this forever. Some people lose interest. That's where Marvel has done it right. So you got your big movies like, like Avengers, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, Endgame, and in between you have these other movies that tie everything together, even TV shows, that keep people interested. So okay, we're gonna put out Black Panther, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Thor Ragnarok. That puts everything together, but it doesn't make people lose interest. So I'm not saying make other short stories. No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying some people will lose interest. Some people will be so happy. I'm a big fan of Godzilla, always have been. The first Godzilla movie I ever saw was the 1990s one. I can't remember the year right now. But like the smaller T-Rex almost looking Godzilla. That was my first experience with Godzilla, which terrified me as a kid. I screamed and cried, but now I was like, yeah, Godzilla. But I just want to see it being made. Godzilla vs. Kong. It hasn't been made for many years. Since back in the day where people used to actually put on the costumes and fight, and choreograph fighting. So this is gonna be interesting. I can't wait. Also delayed Matrix till 2022. That is an ambitious delay. I'm just saying, I know they want to do it right. I don't know, there's a lot of fans out there. I know there's some people who don't like the second and third movie. They are not perfect movies. I am a fan. Always have been, even though they're not perfect movies, just the idea behind it, very, very ambitious. Very, very cool. Next, I'm going to talk about some things that are streaming. And this is only based on the streaming services that I have. So there are many that I don't have, like Amazon, HBO Max, which I should, but I am a movie background worker and crew worker, so right now there's no work, so I can't really afford every streaming service, but I would love to in the future, just so I could review original content, because that's a big thing with streaming services, original content, which yes, Netflix did start that, but other streaming services followed up on that, and now we have things like The Mandalorian, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, everything on Netflix pretty much. La Casa del Papel, Stranger Things, Orange is the New Black, things like that. And the one thing that I like that Netflix is doing is like Netflix original documentaries, which I'm really enjoying. I am really enjoying. We all know Tiger King. That had its 15 seconds of fame, but hey, it made it around the world, which is crazy. But so right now they're pretty much fighting for original content, original movies. So I do eventually want to review all of that, because that's all I do. If I'm not working on a movie, I'm watching a movie or a TV show. So guys, that is practically my life. Streaming on Netflix. Avatar: The Last Airbender. I do not have to talk much about that because the whole internet has been doing it for me. Great show, great character arcs, best redemption story I have ever seen. If you haven't watched it, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but for everybody who has watched it, you guys know what I'm talking about. So that, Lady Bird, Oscar-nominated movie, won some awards, great movie, really great movie into a life, great look into a life of a teenager. The Five Bloods, man, that is the newest thing to drop on Netflix, and I'm so happy because I already spent $20 on The King of Staten Island and on other movies that have been dropping, and I'll gladly pay for them. But when you have a streaming service and it drops a movie this massive, oh man, I'm so happy. Thank you, Spike Lee, for doing it with Netflix. And great movie. I will review it shortly, but that I recommend as well on Netflix. I'm No Longer Here. Great movie, part in Spanish, part in English. Amazing, about an immigrant who had to go to the U.S. because otherwise he was going to get killed because he got involved with some wrong people. And, I've seen it firsthand, but this is really cool to see movies like this being made. Movies that don't have to be made in English with a Spanish accent. I have no problem with that. For example, the 33, the movie about the Chilean miners, which is streaming on Hulu, by the way. Everything happened in Spanish, and then the movie was all in English. They were speaking English. I understand, to show to the American masses, to everybody else, but they were speaking English. And I don't think that was the right way to go. Still a good movie, the 33. But I just thought that should have been made in the original language in Spanish, because that's how it really happened, And even like the Chilean president was talking in English, and the minister, all these people, they were talking English, and it was just a little bit weird because I know Spanish, so it was English with a Spanish accent. So it would have been like seeing Parasite in English with a Korean accent. It's just not, it would have not hit the same, it would have not been the same. I know some people subs versus dubs. I prefer subs, and I like hearing the original voices in the original language. That's just me. And of course, as I have recommended before on Netflix, Uncut Gems. Uncut Gems, great movie. He got the Oscar snub. I talked about how maybe the wrong Missy was the retaliation for not getting an Oscar nomination, which is okay. But Uncut Gems, one of my favorite movies of last year. I still recommend it. It's still playing on Netflix. I don't know how long movies are coming and going on Netflix, so I just watched it if you haven't watched it. Great movie. Just be ready for a lot of intense close-ups, because they love doing close-ups on that movie, which just make the movie more intense and makes you grip your seat. Okay, Hulu, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Don't even have to say it. I'm gonna see if I can put the Bastard Boys intro right here.
Okay. Number one, could you please sing the opening to I Want It That Way?
Really? Okay. You are my fire.
Number two, keep it going.
The one desire.
Number three.
Believe when I say.
Number four.
I want it that way.
Tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a heartache.
Tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a mistake.
Now number five.
I never wanna hear you say,
Woo! I want it that way.
Oh, chills. Literal chills.
It was number 5. Number 5 killed my brother.
Oh my God, I forgot about that part.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Child's Play, the new Child's Play. I haven't watched it, I'm gonna watch it, but it's on Hulu, streaming right now. A classic movie, Casino. Also on Hulu streaming, The Dark Knight. The 33, which I just talked about, good movie. Just the whole Spanish subs versus dubs thing, what are you gonna do? Sorry to Bother You, great movie, also streaming on Hulu. The Art of Self-Defense, great movie, Jesse Eisenberg. Just watch. It almost feels campy, but it's not. But it's such a great movie. I recommend it. And these movies are streaming on Hulu. I know sometimes they're hard to find because the Hulu interface is not the friendliest. This has been said by many people, not just me. It's so much easier to find stuff, like on Disney Plus and Netflix and like Hulu. Such a hard interface. So hopefully they fix that. So Disney Plus. You guys already know, if you haven't seen The Mandalorian, if you just got Disney Plus, watch it. Artemis Fowl, which I will try to review, and pretty much every Pixar movie available. So, Disney Plus. And National Geographic and all this other stuff, which is great. I like Disney Plus. It's just too much stuff to get into. Star Wars, Marvel, we already know. So it's a great streaming platform. They are working on more original content. We already know all the Marvel shows, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, all that stuff is going to come out. I was lucky enough to be an extra on a couple of those shows. I will not talk about it until it comes out. But it's just, I can't wait for that to come out, so I'm excited. Original content, and it's Marvel. Okay, so first I want to review The King of Staten Island, directed by Judd Apatow and co-written by Judd Apatow and Pete Davidson. So, Judd Apatow, involved in movies like 40-Year-Old Virgin, Bridesmaids, you know, great comedic director, you know, so I am happy he did this movie. Like I said, just a tad long. I give it an 84%. Great movie. Great look into Pete Davidson's life. The way they talked about it was, this would have been Pete Davidson's life if he never found comedy, which, you know, we all know he did. He got into SNL, then he got to do a few movies, and, you know, and he is going to be in Suicide Squad. I'm not going to say what he did. I did get to see him, but I'm not going to talk about that. You guys will get to see. It's not a secret. James Gunn talked about it, but good for Pete Davidson. Great movie. A lot of fun. This is a spoiler review. I am going to spoil a few things. You've been warned, you know. So pretty much the movie starts with Pete Davidson, you know, being with his friends, talking about how, you know, they don't like Staten Island, but Pete Davidson's girlfriend, secret girlfriend, loves Staten Island. She wants to make it a great place to live. That's where they're from. They think it's a pretty much shithole. But, you know, their whole lives revolved around Staten Island. And you're going to see those themes work into the movie. For example, the Staten Island Yankees, things like that. That their whole lives, like in a way they have so much pride to be from Staten Island. They're so close to Manhattan, but they have so much pride of being from Staten Island that, you know, it showed in themes about this movie. In an interview with Judd Apatow on Lights Camera Barstool, Judd Apatow talked about how they shot everything in Staten Island. Pretty much Pete Davidson worked as a location scout and told them, this is a great place to film, this is a good restaurant to shoot at, you know, this park right here and there. They didn't go to other parts of New York, they didn't go to sound stages. They shot in Staten Island, which is pretty authentic, felt authentic. I've been to Staten Island. I mean, they shot in Staten Island. I know what it looks like. So that, first of all, that's great. I have been in, you know, movie, TV shoots where they try to make a street look like New York or LA. Yeah, it can make it work, but I guess the authenticity, you know, was there. So that's a good thing. So this movie touches heavily on what it was like to have a firefighter for a father and a firefighter who was deceased, which in Pete Davidson's case was the real thing that happened in 9/11. But in this movie, the way they did it, and it was very subtle, they didn't mention 9/11 because what Judd Apatow said was, if they had mentioned his father dying in 9/11, the movie would have to center more around that, and they would have to talk about more 9/11, and it would just center more around that than what actually happened. So they changed it to a hotel fire, the roof collapsed, and that's what happened in the movie. At the end of the movie, they dedicated the movie to Pete Davidson's father, which they show a picture of him at the end of the movie. So I think that was a very nice touch from them. So Pete in this movie, which his name is Scott, he doesn't know how to deal with his emotions. He doesn't know how to express them. He doesn't know how to express when he's sad. He doesn't know how to express when he's happy. We see this at the beginning of the movie when, you know, he sleeps with his girlfriend, secret girlfriend, and she tells him, oh, like, what are we doing? And he's like, oh, you know, we're just having sex, we're doing this. And she's like, but why can't we tell everybody? Why is this such a secret? It's because he doesn't know how to express his feelings, because he has such a trauma from when he was a kid. He could never express it.
You make everyone around you feel crazy. People are normal, then they hang out with you, and then they're fucking Jack Nicholson in The Shining or something.
And they also told him all the time, you know, your father's a hero, which great, that's beautiful. But in his mind, he's like, I want to know what he was really like. I'm tired of people telling me he's a hero. So he just never knew how to deal with true emotions, you know. Another big player in this is his sister. His sister was, in a way, besides his mother, which they weren't really as close, you know, his sister was his emotional support. She was always worrying about him. She told him, you always do this, you always make me worry about you, please don't ruin college for me. Even though she's going to be away, she tells him, please don't ruin college for me. And that's a big thing because he says, oh, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I can't do this, I can't function.
You gotta get your shit together. Time is passing by very quickly.
Why do you think I smoke weed all the time? So I could slow it down.
At the beginning of the movie, his girlfriend tells him, I'm awesome. I'm sad that you don't think you're awesome. That was a big, impactful thing. You know, a small line, but I know how she meant to say it. She was like, you don't think you're great. That's what makes me sad. That makes me sadder than you not wanting to be with me. That's what she said. But, you know, which that theme is shown even at the beginning of the movie when they're saying, oh, we talk about his dead father all the time, and he laughs about it.
What are those numbers on your arm?
Oh, that's the date my dad died. He was a fireman. Died in a fire 17 years ago.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Don't be. It's fine.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not your dad.
Like, it doesn't hurt him, but we know it hurts him. But he acts like he's so numb about it, but deep down, you know, he's feeling it. But he just doesn't know his dad. He doesn't know who he was. He just knew he was a hero. He was a great guy. But in reality, we see later in the movie that, yeah, he was just as normal. He had his problems. He even did cocaine.
And let me tell you something. Your dad was a hero. And heroes are necessary. And they should be allowed to have families.
Which, you know, it was fun for him to hear that. Pete or Scott, he thought, oh, maybe, you know, he was like me. Maybe I'm not such a screw up. And my dad was a hero. And, you know, he did stuff like cocaine, drugs, you know. He had fun. So he wasn't just this perfect human being they kept, you know, talking to Scott about. You know, he was actually a person with his problems. He had fights, he had ups, he had downs. But everyone loved him. Just like they love, you know, Scott, just how I love Pete Davidson. They love him. He's not perfect, but that plays a lot into the movie. So it felt very, very personal. So remember how I said the big theme is Staten Island as well as his personal life. So one of the scenes we see that is that when Bill Burr's character, he says, oh, I have season tickets to the Yankees. And then, you know, Scott's like, oh, that's awesome. And then he's like, yeah, they're going to make it this year. And he's like, oh, Staten Island Yankees, minor leagues. Like, they're such big fans of their city, their hometown, even though it's all New York. It's all New York. But they're still such a big fan of their, you know, their island, Staten Island. So they go there and they tell Pete, you know, what's really in your mind? How do you feel? And he's like, do you really want me to say it? Firemen should not be allowed to have children. He says how it's not fair to them that one day they're not going to come home. How are they going to explain that to them? That is a selfish thing to do. That was a very real moment, I believe.
You ever think about putting on the jacket? Why would you even ask me that? What's wrong with being a fireman? It's fine if you don't have kids, because you don't know if you're going to come home or not, and then your kids are fucked up.
And then we jump in the future to the bar scene. When, you know, they actually tell him who his dad was, you know, he did cocaine, the way he was, that he really was a hero, but that, you know, he had a fun side, he had a good side to him as well. And Steve Buscemi says, heroes should be allowed to have families. And I feel like that changed Pete's perception so much. And I love those two scenes, you know. They're in different parts of the movie, but they tie the movie together so well, where he understands, okay, so he didn't abandon me. He was doing his duty, what he chose to do, but, you know, he was still my father. The whole supporting cast is great. People who play Pete's friends, you know, Bill Burr, Marissa Tomei. You know, the chemistry between Bill Burr and Marissa Tomei is crazy. It's like they really are dating. I love the scene when they start dating and they start going out, and Marissa Tomei's character is happy again, and it was awesome. I love that little montage of dates they had. That was pretty cool. They had an awesome chemistry, so it worked really well. And I never seen like Bill Burr like that. Like, so I really enjoyed it.
I've been dating someone for a little while now.
The first guy you date in 17 years is a fireman, just like that? You don't think that's weird?
So as we know in the movie, Pete Davidson's character is not a big fan of Marissa Tomei's and Bill Burr's, you know, relationship. He wants to break it up. He's not happy because, yes, he's an adult, but he is comfortable. He feels like he doesn't want to do, you know, he can't make it in life. Yeah, he has an idea for a tattoo restaurant, but I mean, we all know that's not gonna work. And I feel like even he knows a little bit that, yeah, it's not gonna work. It's a great idea, but he knows he's not gonna make it happen. And we especially see his dreams kind of being crushed when he goes to try to be an apprentice at the tattoo shop, and then he's like, and MGK is pretty much like, hey, you're my bitch. You're gonna wash my car, and, you know, do whatever we say, and you're not gonna get paid anything. And he's like, oh, how am I gonna pay my rent? He's like, that's your problem, not my problem. So that's when he's like, oh crap, you know, like, I'm not even wanted at the tattoo shop. So he really doesn't like the relationship with Marissa Tomei and Bill Burr, and he feels like because of Bill Burr, he's getting kicked out and he's gonna have to be on his own. And he was really comfortable, you know, just smoking weed, being with his friends, practicing tattoos on all his friends, which I thought that was a pretty funny concept.
I want to become a real tattoo artist.
Your work is mad inconsistent. Obama ain't right.
Oh, I love your tattoos. This is my favorite.
Because he tattooed his kid, and then he got so pissed about that he went to the house and knocked and be like, did you tattoo my kid? And we all know what happened, you know, Bill Burr and Marissa, and But Pete Davidson, he just did not like that relationship. But at the end, he did want his mother to be happy, so that's a good thing. But we fast forward, we jump to when they go to visit his sister in college. They go to an awesome college party, and then he's like, oh, I felt like I fit in. He's like, you think I can come into a school like this? And then his sister's like, yeah, I just finished high school. And that is when he starts doubting himself again, like, oh, I'm stupid, I can't do it, I will never be able to compete against these people. I will have to work twice as hard as these people. So I'm like, it's just self-doubt all over again. And then on the car ride back from the university, from the college, Bill Burr's talking about how, Pete Davidson, he's not doing anything great. Even Marissa Tomei asks, oh, you think the tattoo restaurant's a good idea? And, they don't think so. And they don't think they don't think he's doing anything to exert himself, to push himself, to go forward, to move forward. So that's when he makes the really bad decision of helping his friends, to steal from a pharmacy. Which it all goes sideways, it all goes down, and he gets away. His friends go to jail for a few months. But it's just the bad decisions he makes because of the way he thinks people see him. So we know that he gets kicked out by his mother, and he's looking for places to live, places to be at. He can't find one, so the only person he can turn to is Bill Burr, the fire station, which they take him in, but they make him work for it. They make him watch the fire truck, mop, clean the bathrooms, dishes, cook, do all that stuff. And that's where he really starts feeling like he fits in, like he's bonding with the guys, like he's bonding with, with people that actually do something, that knew his father, but they're not treating him like they feel sorry for him. They're treating him like, hey, you want to be here, you got to work for it, which I thought that was a great, part in the movie. And that's, where he really gets to bond, know about his father. He gets to learn about hard work. There's a line that I love. When he's watching the fire truck, he's like, oh, why you guys gotta watch the fire truck? You guys gotta come all sexy for the fire, which I thought was really funny. But in the end, Pete Davidson becomes a hero himself when a guy who he's been either stabbed or shot, or we don't know what, it was never shown what happened. He comes to Pete Davidson, he's like, hey, can you stitch me up? He's like, yeah, I'm not a firefighter, I can't do this. He's like, please, can you stitch me up? And Pete Davidson gets one of the fire trucks, and he rushes to the hospital with the sirens on like a hero. And he helps him, and he calls Bill Burr, and he helps him put him in the in the ICU, which in a way he became a hero. And then just Pete Davidson knows that he has so much more potential than just being a screw up like he thought he was. And then he starts realizing what's important in life, that his mother's happy, that his father be remembered, but also just to remember that his father was a person, not just this hero, this superhero that everybody thought out to be. I just want to give a special mention, the kids, awesome actors, really, really good actors, the kids. Oh my God, the chemistry I had with Pete walking to school, I love that. That was amazing. The end was great, when Pete Davidson's with his girlfriend, taking her to take her exam, and then she's like, broaden your horizons. And he just looks up, and you see the New York skyline, and great ending. I thought it was amazing. Again, I gave this movie an 84. Pretty fun, just a tad bit long. There's some scenes that could have been cut out, but besides that, a really good movie. So next, The Five Bloods, which, oh my God, I think it's my favorite movie that I have seen that came out this year. Okay, so The Five Bloods. First of all, I want to say I gave this movie a 94 out of 100. Amazing movie. I think it's the best movie that has come out so far this year. And we know it's a Spike Lee joint. Amazing movie. Amazing. I have a Spike Lee up there in movies to the style, and I'm not comparing them, because these are my favorite directors, and I have him up there with Quentin Tarantino. I love Quentin Tarantino, but man, Spike Lee, dude, his movies are amazing. BlacKkKlansman, what a great movie. And now this, The Five Bloods, it's an epic. It's not just a journey of, you know, these four guys. It's like it has to do so much with history. It has to do so much with what's actually going on now, and that has been going on for years. Because this movie shows what happened, you know, in the Vietnam War, and things that are happening now. You know, it's a big message for everything that is happening right now, and that it might still be happening until, you know, everything changes for the better. Sorry guys, I have my tablet because I took so much notes on this movie because it was so good. So first, I want to read the synopsis. Four American vets battle forces of man and nature when they return to Vietnam seeking the remains of their fallen squad leader and the gold fortune he helped them hide. It's by director Spike Lee, starring Chadwick Boseman, Delroy Lindo, Norm Lewis, Isaiah Whitlock, Clark Peters, and Jonathan Majors. There are also some other characters, but I'm just going to focus on the main characters. Now, Delroy Lindo's performance was amazing. Can you say Oscar nomination? Because if I could vote, that would be my Oscar nomination for Best Actor.
Being back here, it is not easy.
Because I'm gonna put him as the main actor. I mean, yes, they were like the four main friends, but his performance was so good, and so it drew you in because he had PTSD in the movie, and from being in the war, from everything that happened, even just being there, he felt uneasy. You could see he was uneasy being there. He was there for two things: the gold, and most importantly, for Norm, which was their squad leader, you know, played by Chadwick Boseman. And he believed so much in him, you know. He was almost like a teacher to them. He was the leader, and he unfortunately died in the movie, and, you know, his remains stayed in Vietnam, and they really wanted to take him back to Arlington Cemetery, you know, to be buried as a hero, which he was. So I loved how this movie showed actual historical clips, and Spike Lee said this: he is a documentary filmer as well, not just, you know, a movie director. He also makes documentaries, which, you know, at the beginning we see Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, actual clips of what happened in the war, you know, the horrible things that were happening, and, you know, that some things like that are still happening today. So even though these things were 50 to 60 years apart, it felt like it could have just happened yesterday with everything that's going on right now. So one thing that I really enjoyed was the aspect ratio. It changed from when they were in the present to when they were in the past. So, you know how the present movies look, you know, anamorphic. And when they showed the flashback clips, it switched to, I believe Spike Lee says Super 16. It was shot in Super 16 millimeter, which, you know, was the ratio that they used to shoot in back then. And I thought that was an amazing artistic choice. It really put you back, you know, like in that day, in that, like if you're watching a documentary from the Vietnam War. So I thought that was a very, very good choice from Spike Lee to do. So, you know, it switched back and forth, and it did not take me out of the movie. I thought it was great.
We bury it. Later on, we come back and collect.
One thing that Spike Lee talked about was, okay, how are we going to do the flashback with, of course, Norm, played by Chadwick Boseman. He died, so they didn't have to, you know, show him older. They just showed him how he was in the Vietnam War. But the four main guys are four main heroes. So how were they going to de-age him? There were three things they could have done. One, hire younger actors to play them, of course. That's the easiest. Two, de-age him with CGI, which is about another $100 million added to the budget. Or three, prosthetics. So none of those seemed like the right answer to Spike Lee, and he chose to use the actors the same way they are in the present day as they showed them in the past. So you see, the only person you see younger is Chadwick Boseman, and then the actors, you know, they're playing themselves, but obviously in our head, you know, us as the movie watchers, we know that they are younger. But I thought that was pretty cool. It did not take me out of the movie. Like that way I didn't have to figure out who was who, then to call each other by names. I thought it was awesome. The only part where they showed that they were actually younger was at the end when they showed pictures of themselves, you know, being in the war, which, I thought that was really cool. But the way that they showed them that they weren't de-aged or anything, it was just them playing themselves in the past. Pretty cool, because actually, you know, they had to do some like running scenes and shooting scenes, so I thought that was pretty cool for them, and I really, really enjoyed that. So they actually went to Asia. They went to a few locations, including Thailand and actually Vietnam. Yeah, it would have just been too expensive and too big of a movie to shoot in the backlot or with green screen. They actually went to the jungle to shoot, which I think is awesome. You know, practical effects, you know, I'm all the way for that. Sometimes they're more expensive, sometimes they're cheaper, sometimes they just look more real. You know, if you're in space, you need a green screen, but if you're in the jungle, go to a jungle. I understand they have to take precautions with that and do things with that, but you know, if you can do it, do it. I think it's much better, and I love how Spike Lee did it in this movie. I want to talk about the soundtrack. Amazing soundtrack. Loved every song put on there, you know. Heavily featured Marvin Gaye fan right here. So those are just some initial thoughts I had about the movie. But you know, as we follow the movie, we know that they start in Vietnam. They're back. They say, "Oh, it feels weird to be back." You can see Delroy Lindo's character, you know, not being the happiest, but he's there for Norm, which he loved, deeply loved as a brother, and the gold, which we know about, which that is pretty much what causes everything that, and that's what pretty much, causes the problems in this movie. Besides the self-conflicts they each have. Again, Delroy Lindo's, performance, Oscar worthy. Oscar nomination and even win worthy, because from the movies that I have seen this year, what a performance. He really, he was uneasy being there. He had the PTSD. He just wanted to do what he had to do and get out, and he didn't trust anybody. And we see that. We see that later in the movie when he ties up the people from Lamb, because he doesn't trust them. They saw that he had gold. They said, no, we don't do whatever you're doing. We just wanted to help you. That scene, I was gripping my seat so hard when Delroy Lindo's son in the movie stepped on the landmine, and he's just like, doesn't know what to do. One of the people from Lamb are like, please don't shift your weight. I was just gripping my seat. I was like, what's going to happen? Is he going to die? Is he going to make it? And then, they talk about the Morehouse athletes, how they flew, and he's like, what are you going to do? You're going to fly. And they pull him out like with all their might. That was one of the most nerve-wracking scenes. And then immediately his head jumps to, okay, I don't trust you guys. Pulls out the handgun. That was, whoa, his character. He doesn't trust anybody. Such good acting. It got me. I was like, what's going on? He just helped you. They just helped you. But I understand, from somebody who was in a war, for somebody who saw their friends being killed, and for somebody who in his own country got cheated a lot and mistreated in his own country, he doesn't trust anybody, and I understand that. And he even talks about it at the end of the movie, how his frustrations, he took them out on his own son, but that he still loves them no matter what, which was a big thing in the movie. So, we know that they find Norm's remains. We know that they find the gold, and, that's pretty early in the movie, and you think, oh, is that it? Was that the big, the climax of the movie? But no, it just keeps escalating from there and there, between personal conflicts between the friends, and conflicts with the actual, Vietnamese people, and trying to take their gold back. They're saying that belongs to us, and then they're saying, no, the gold belongs to us, to the USA. So they're back in war. They're put back in a war situation. And you see how calm they are, because they have been there before. It's not the first time they've been to war. They know what to do. That doesn't mean they're not scared, but they know what to do. They've been in that situation before, and they know that if they don't move, that bad things could happen. But this is where the conflict starts to get bigger and bigger. First, they have to fight to try to survive, and they manage to, kill some people and, send them away. But they know that they're going to come with even more reinforcements. That's where Delroy Lindo's character is like, I'm going on my own. I'm not going with you guys. He took his own share of the gold. He said, you guys do whatever you want with your share of the gold. Which, as we know in the movie, he ends up losing the gold as he falls down the mountain. And he's like, you know what? Fine, have it. Like, I'm done with this country. I'm done with this. I'm done with this war. War, even though the war is not over, it's really not over. You know, it lives through them, and it keeps coming back in different ways. We see this when they're on the boat and a guy's trying to sell, you know, them a chicken. And he's like, you know what? Fuck you. You killed my parents. You killed my mom. And you killed my dad. American GI. So the war has never really been over in these people's hearts. We also see that with Clark Peters' character, Otis, who has a daughter with a Vietnamese, you know, escort prostitute. But he loves her, and he didn't know about his daughter. She didn't want to tell anybody because this is real, this really happened. Back in the day, you know, some Vietnamese females, they actually had sons with Americans, and they were seen as the enemy. They were seen as the enemy, bastard childs, that's what they called them. So it's not their fault they were born with American dads. A mother's always gonna love their child no matter what, but because of the war, they're seeing them as, oh, you know, you killed our people, you killed babies, you know, you killed so many people. And they actually showed some pictures which, whoa, it gets very graphic. This movie gets very graphic, but it's real. It's what really happened. So it's also in a way history, and you know, history should not be forgotten. One thing I really liked about this movie was the inclusion of Hanoi Hannah, which I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but she really was a propaganda personality, and she actually did speak in English. And I like how she said that African Americans make up 30% of the army fighting in Vietnam, and why are they fighting in Vietnam for a country that pretty much, you know, turned their back on them, that, you know, they never respected them in the past.
Black GI, is it fair to serve more than the white Americans that sent you here? Nothing is more confused than to be ordered into a war to die without the faintest idea of what's going on. I dedicate this next record to the soul brothers of the 1st Infantry Divisions. Be safe.
So that was a very powerful statement, and you know, it made the Bloods, it made them angry. But you know, Norm, he had to call them down. He's like, don't let them take our rage. Don't let them control our rage, which I thought was such a powerful, you know, thing to say. They said, you know, oh, let's kill some people. Norm was like, no, do not let them control our rage. That's one thing they cannot take from us. They cannot take our rage. And I thought that was really powerful, really big, you know, statement. But Hanoi Hannah was a real propaganda character, and you could Google her. I went down a rabbit hole going through all these stories. So like I said, you know, they get separated. Unfortunately, Del Rey Lindo's character gets shot and killed in Vietnam. And, you know, that was sad. I really wanted to see him make it to the end. But which it brings us to one of the most emotional scenes. Right before he gets killed, before he gets caught, it's one of the most emotional scenes in this whole movie. Is when, you know, he visualizes or he thinks about, you know, Norm. And Norm's like, let's talk about what happened. And then they showed a flashback scene, and we see that it was friendly fire that killed Norm. You know, because somebody came into the plane where they were hiding and shooting at, and he shot back, but he accidentally killed Norm. And he said, I forgive you. He said, I know you. And that was such a powerful scene. He said, it was not your fault, it was an accident. He said, Norm said, I died for you. And it was such an inspiring, such a great moment. And I really love that. I really love the message behind that. He said, I died for you. You know, it's not your fault. I'm not angry at you. And that's when I feel like Delroy or Paul had some peace, because that was eating him up this whole time. He loved him the most. He was the closest to him, and his own gun killed Norm. So then we jump to the guys who are in the temple, getting ready to pretty much go to war. And they've been in it. They are so calm. And he said, you know, they say, it's not my first time in Nam. Isaiah's Whitlock character, you know, Melvin, at the beginning of the movie, he says, I will not jump in a grenade for anybody. And as soon as they threw a grenade, he jumped on it. And I was like, no. I was like, that shocked me. I was not expecting that. And then they kept going to the scene. I thought they were going to be like, no, you know, Melvin. But no, because that's how the show war is. You know, somebody's down. No time for grieving, no time for crying. You have to keep moving, you have to keep shooting, you have to keep going. So that was crazy. That was such a Big scene. What he said he wouldn't do, he did. He jumped on top of the grenade without hesitation, as quickly as he could, to protect his comrades, his people, his family. At the end, they're able to, get out, kill the French guy who was the bad guy. He was behind everything. And they did what Norm wanted, which was, the money, give it to the community. Not just for themselves, but to the community. They give to a Black Lives Matter cause, which I thought was really cool. We see that Paul gives a letter to Otis to give to his son in case he dies, which that's what happened in the movie. And he gives it to his son, pretty much saying that he always loved him no matter what. That because what happened in the war and in the past, he might have not shown it. And that was the way that he was, but that he always loved them no matter what. And the son knew it. The son knew he loved them. But the letter was like closure for him. There's a lot of there are some political messages in this movie, a lot of messages about what's happening in society today, and that has been happening for more than 60 years, which I thought was a really nice way to show it in this movie. And I loved the Orlando Paul's monologue when he's just in the jungle by himself and he starts talking and he says, "I choose when I die. I decide when I die. Nobody decides for me." I thought that was very powerful, very good. That's why I gave this movie a 94%. Very, very easy watch. Never felt long, never felt short. It felt just right. The cinematography was great. Score and the music, the soundtrack was amazing. Acting was superb. The acting, let me say again, acting was amazing. Especially the Orlando Paul's character was amazing. So I gave this movie a 94%. It deserves it. It's getting critical acclaim. Hopefully a lot of people watch it. I think a lot of people are watching it. And like I said, I want to thank Spike Lee for putting it on Netflix, making it much more accessible to us who are still at home, who are still quarantined. So thank you for that, Spike Lee. And thank you guys for watching this video, this review. I'm going to have more reviews, more interviews with people in the film industry coming up. Please do not forget to subscribe and like this. It helps out a lot. I know I don't have a lot of followers, but to the people who do watch this and enjoy this, I'm going to keep making more videos for as long as I can. So thank you guys. Please, subscribe on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. Give us any rating you can. That will help us out a lot. Thank you guys.